Hi, I'm attorney James Betzold, and if you're a new lawyer recently out of law school, or maybe you just passed the bar, where you are now, I once was. I was starting my own law firm right out of law school, and I've got some tips that can help you move things along. I hope you find it helpful. When you're first starting your law firm, it's tempting to think, or tempting to ask yourself, whether you actually need to buy this product or service now, or whether you should wait until later. When it comes to getting organized with some of these basic tools that you need to run your firm, don't delay. If you're working well, people will hear about it, they'll come to seek your services in no time, and before you know it, you'll wish you had something in place earlier to keep your organization, to keep your thoughts straight, to keep your notes straight, to keep your finances straight. One of the reasons that attorneys get in trouble the most is they didn't keep their finances in order. They weren't able to account accurately for the difference between client funds and funds that were now already earned. The sooner you have that in place, the better. And the truth of the matter is, there's a number of systems out there that are easy to use, case management systems which handle these things, trust accounting, invoices, billing, payment plans, notes, things like that. And Prima.Law is very easy to use, very cost effective. But even then, it's worth getting into it and, spending an afternoon creating a fake client, creating a fake invoice, just running through the process to get familiar with it, because you're going to need to not only know how to do it yourself, but you need to train your staff on it as well. And you need to be able to hold them accountable to make sure your records are accurate. So the time to get started with that is now. If you're thinking about opening your firm, there's no reason you shouldn't have already gone to Prima.Law, created a free trial account, talk with us. If you need a couple extra days or weeks on that, that's fine. We'll help you with that. We want you to use the system so that you can be organized and have a successful firm and be a repeat customer for us. We've had situations where we consult with someone. They come to our firm, we have a consultation, we discuss their immigration or their family law case. We're very thorough in what we do, and we give them our best advice, and they say, all right, I'm going to go home and think about it. And no matter what we do, they just don't want to close the deal. They really do need some time to think it over. Well, sometimes that's, it's a day or two, and then we know who they are when they come back. Sometimes it's 6 months or even a year or two later, where they come back and they say, hey, remember me? We already talked. I don't need to do a consultation again, right?
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Okay, rule of thumb, if they've been away from you for more than 3 months, you need to have a re-consult to make sure that addresses are the same, all the other information is the same. Nothing fundamental has otherwise changed in their case, because those little things will sneak in, which drive the cost of the case up. So that's a good rule of thumb. 6 months. If it's been longer than 3 months and they haven't signed up, they need to consult again. You can always tell them, look, we'll put that towards the case if you hire us, but we need to re-verify all this stuff. So that's fine. But when they come back, you will have seen hundreds of people maybe thousands between the time you met with them last and when they're coming back. You won't remember it, but your software will. Your case management system will keep your notes, could keep photos, documents, copies of relevant documents that they brought you, have your personal notes where you draw your personal conclusions or preferences, or you may write a note that says, I'm not really interested in working with them because they were kind of mean, and I think they would be a difficult client. You want to know those things when they come back. Prices, right? Your prices probably will go up over a couple years. And when they come back and say, well, you said you'd do it for $50. You can say, no, I quoted you $500 and now it's $5,000. But you want to have those records and those notes in place for that purpose. It's just important. And it protects you against claims of malpractice. Imagine you're in the middle of a case and you don't have anything documented. You don't have notes. You don't have anything to build an invoice off of. Oof. You don't want to be there. No, you want to have records of everything. Organization is one of the most important things for a law firm. Not only does it help you remember stuff, and to actually run your business, but it reflects the type of person you are. It reflects the type of attorney you are. It reflects on your whole office. It's your reputation. And that law license that you got from law school, that's awesome. And it's worth something unless your reputation sucks. Then it's not worth a hill of beans. A hill of beans is probably worth more, especially if it's a big hill. All right, let's move along here. Whether you're an attorney who does a consultation for a fee or whether you charge for your consultation, you want to make sure that all of these things are clear to your client, just as part of being organized. So if they call your office and they schedule an appointment, you or your staff is going to tell them, now there's a $50 fee. You need to pay that in advance, or $100 or $200, whatever the consult fee is. And you set those rules right there. It's not just, oh, okay, I'll come in and pay when I can. No, you need to either pay it over the phone now for us to reserve your spot, or you need to drop off payment. And when you do that, then we'll reserve your spot. You want that expectation set early on, so it's not a topic of conversation later. Oh, yeah, I called and your assistant said I had to pay a fee. If anybody ever says that to me, I'll say, I hope you can find another attorney, because I can already tell you're going to be a problem. All right, so I'm maybe not say that word for word to them, but that's what I'm thinking for sure, is I know that this could be an issue, so I'm going to be very careful as to whether I even accept their case. And so it's important to set those expectations from the very beginning, not just what they're going to have to pay for the consult, but that they understand at the very beginning. And this goes back to our discussion about malpractice. If your client comes to your office, they consult with you, and they leave thinking, oh, that's my attorney now. They've got my back. I don't have to do anything. You could be on the hook for malpractice. Many state bar organizations. Well, let's do this. Let's be frank about your beloved state bar organization. As much as they say they're there for you, they're not. They're there to regulate you. They're there to regulate attorneys and to protect the public, who sometimes go through elaborate schemes to get money from you. So your bar organization is looking at you and they're saying, should we discipline this character? They're looking at you and saying, well, in the light most favorable to this client without an education who came into them for a consultation, what would they reasonably think? You want your client to know, or the potential client to know, you're not my client until you sign my retainer and pay my fee. As you walk out of here, you are not my client. If you want to hire me, yes, your case is a case I would take. Here's what you need to do to get my services. You need to sign my retainer agreement and pay me. Those two things, or I'm not your attorney. Let's be very clear about that. And look, that it's just something that needs to be part of your standard procedures. If you're not going to be working on a case for someone, send a letter, after they've consulted with you. Thank you for consulting with us today. Please understand you are not our client currently. The attorney, explain the terms that you would need to follow in order to become our client. Thank you. Have a great day. Please contact us if we can help you by. Some sort of letter like that. A closing letter, even for a consultation, is a very prudent idea. So set those expectations. Now, as an immigration attorney in our immigration firm, we found it's actually very helpful to spell out exactly what the client can expect during the consultation. Now, if you don't know, there are notary publics out there. There are accountants who speak Spanish or maybe some other foreign language, and they think that they are highly qualified, or interpreters. Oh, that's a big one. Translators or interpreters. They think they know immigration law. And so they'll go out there and they will take money from people and they will file papers on their behalf and they'll do all these things. And it's just terrible. It's it's unlicensed and unlawful practice of law.
It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay?
Unfortunately, at the state level, there's very little enforcement of it. There's always an attorney can file a civil suit against them. But typically there's not a lot of enforcement that happens. All right. Additionally, we found that one of the keys to success is, again, managing those expectations from the beginning. They know that during the consultation, it's not time for me to resolve all the what ifs of could happen in their case, but they need to be confident that I know how to handle them. They need to be confident that you know how to handle any contingency that could occur, and that they have a way forward. They need to get that confidence from you. We found sometimes it's helpful to let them know that, look, now you've signed my retainer. Now your problems are my problems. If you get something in the mail and you can't sleep at night, it's not just you. I won't sleep at night until I know what's going on. And I'm going to work on this case very hard for you until we get the result that we need. Just having that dialogue tends to release some stress that the client may have, because they know now that by paying you, they're sharing their burden, whether it's a divorce or criminal defense or immigration or whatever. They're going to look up to you. So again, organization, because this talk is really specifically about organization. We sort of meandered into malpractice there for a second. Part of being organized is having a retainer agreement. And again, it goes back to setting the expectation. Have it in writing, have all the terms of it there, the scope of what you're going to do, what is covered, what's not covered. When you can withdraw, if they do something dumb that makes you want to withdraw, or something happens where you need to withdraw, like they stop paying their bill, you want that written out specifically for them. If you're allowing clients to go on a payment plan and you're offering like this financing or something, and you're giving them a promissory note, make sure that that is a separate document in writing that they sign promising to pay you. And it's separate and apart from the retainer agreement. You want those to be two separate documents. So if you're doing flat fee work, you need to write in some contingency language that says, if there's any unexpected developments, for example, but not limited to blah, 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 we reserve the right to charge more at our hourly rate of blah, whatever it is, right? You want to put that stuff in there in writing, because what we've seen happen with other attorneys is they end up building a whole practice based on these flat fee retainers. There's a substantive change in the law, and they're in a situation where they may actually be stuck with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of work that they are not going to be compensated for.
You serious?
And it's unfortunate, because rule number one of any business is you need to make money to keep the lights on. You need to pay money to yourself so you can enjoy your life and not be overstressed and do good work for your clients. You need to keep that machine moving. In your law firm, just when we're on the topic of being organized, we're going to gloss over a few topics here. You're going to want to establish standard procedures for things like answering the phone, taking appointments, calendaring, these things where somebody calls, they say, oh, I want an appointment with the lawyer. Your staff member needs to know, what are the days that you take appointments? What are the costs? What are the documents they need to bring? What are the things I need to tell them? What's the information I need to gather with the client beforehand? So these things, here we go. Answering the phone, scheduling appointments, so calendaring. And it may be calendaring in the sense of there's court appearances that get calendared, appointments that get calendared, casework that gets scheduled to be done, things like that. Communication between staff and attorney. So what are your standard procedures for that? Handling finances. So when money comes in, who writes receipts? Where does it get deposited? Where does it go into the safe? Handling deposits with the bank. Keep this one close to your heart and to your hands. Handling incoming mail and processing. This is huge, right? You got incoming mail. You've got notices that your clients are going to need to be made aware of, and the attorney made aware of immediately. Make sure your staff knows what things will typically come in, what do they look like, and what should you do with them. Communicating with the court. You want your staff to know that if the court calls, you're available. If the court calls, you'll take the call. If another attorney calls, you will also take the call. If a government agency calls, where maybe if they're like ICE, they rarely do, and if they do, you need to talk to them. Please interrupt me, whatever I'm doing, I'll take the call. You want other procedures about creating files, maintaining the files, organizing literally in the file room your files, because you will have some paper for sure. Preparing copies of files for clients. When is your staff allowed to do it? Is there a fee for it? Is that in the retainer agreement? Who's physically allowed to take a file outside of the office? You want to keep all that stuff with... You want standard operating procedures for those. Procedures for closing files, keeping clients updated, and obtaining positive reviews from your clients as well. We can talk about that in another episode, but if you have procedures for all these things, you can be sure that they're going to happen. And it's easier to follow up and fix issues when they do arise. So as you go through the process of establishing your firm, see if there's a rule or procedure that you can apply or establish for any given task to simplify the process, to set the expectations with your own employees. This will help provide the best service possible to your clients, and also be willing to tweak those as you go along. Constant improvement, constant innovation, constantly find ways to do things more effectively. I'm attorney James Betzold. Thanks for joining us again today.